I'm Mariela Rocha. I am coordinator for policies and training at LACNIC, and I'm here to welcome you to a new public policy forum. Thank you for joining us. To all those of you who are in the room and those who are following us remotely. This is one of the spaces in LACNIC. This is one of the most important at LACNIC. So I hope you're very enthusiastic to work, but also with responsibility, because this is a process that we build together. So, in fact, those who will be in charge of chairing the session are the chairs elected by the community, Thomas Lynch and Sergio Rojas, who are already with us here. Before giving the floor to them, let me tell you that yesterday we found a mouse in the room. The mouse is where the multimedia people are. So if someone is missing it, you can ask them for it. So now let us start with the Public Policy Forum of LACNIC 44. You have the floor. Thank you, Mariela, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session of the Public Policy Forum of LACNIC 44. I'm Sergio Rojas. I'm the chair of the policy development process. Thomas, welcome again to this forum. Welcome. Thank you. In this session, we have 5 different policies that will be presented for those who are here for the first time and are not familiar with the process. Let me welcome you, and we as chairs have a brief presentation where we will be explaining what the policy development process is, what LACNIC does, and what we'll be discussing during this forum. As I said, many of you are here for the first time, and you might ask yourselves where the IP addresses come from. There is an organization, a global organization, that is in charge of managing the whole set of numbers, IPv4 blocks, IPv6 blocks, and the autonomous systems. This organization is called ICANN. ICANN also distributes these to 5 regional registries located geographically in different parts of the world. LACNIC is one of the regional registries, precisely. We also call these RIRs, and the area of LACNIC is Latin America and the Caribbean. We have ARIN, that is responsible for managing the resources for North America. In Africa, we have AFRINIC. In Asia Pacific and Oceania, we have APNIC. And for Europe and Middle East, we have RIPE NCC. As I said, the coverage area of LACNIC is Latin America and part of the Caribbean, covering 33 countries in the region. LACNIC, in turn, distributes the resources received from ICANN to all the organizations legally established within the area of coverage. And you might ask yourselves, how does this occur? For this, there is a policy manual. These are the instructions. On the left, you can see the booklet with IPv4, IPv6, and ASN. These are the guides that tell LACNIC how to manage and allocate these resources. Then we have the requirements that the organizations have to comply with in order to receive number space. There is a section that describes the requirements that the organizations have to have in order to maintain these resources. There's one that has to do with canceling these resources. This is a document that is about 50 pages long or so. So it's the policy manual. On the right, we have the PDP manual. PDP is the policy development process. The PDP manual contains the guides as to how to modify these guides, the booklet on the left. But this is also applicable to the PDP manual itself. The PDP manual describes how this forum takes place, what are the responsibilities of the chairs of LACNIC staff, of the board, and it even describes the processes that have to be followed in order to modify the policy manual, which is a booklet on the left. So bearing all this in mind, you might ask yourselves who writes this policy manual. It's not LACNIC. The fact is that we all write it together as a community. Each one of you may make a policy proposal to change the policy manual or the PDP manual. You don't need to be members of LACNIC. You don't even need to live in the area of coverage of LACNIC. Any individual, any person in any part of the world can propose a change to the policy manual or to the PDP manual. And even the proposals will be discussed here. As a community, you have the right to express your opinion, to discuss the contents of the proposals that are proposing changes. How does the discussion begin? Someone who might be interested in proposing a change to the manual, or someone who might be interested in stating an opinion on this proposal, is that you have to subscribe to the policy list. That is where the discussion begins. The policy list is just a mailman. This is a QR code if you wish to subscribe to this list. Any proposal for changes to the manual are sent to the policy list. Initially, the discussion takes place in the policy list, and then these are discussed in this forum. In this session, we applied the LACNIC Code of Conduct, and also in the policy list. You have the link where you can find more information on the Code of Conduct. You don't need to be a member when a proposal is submitted. You can express your opinion, not only those who are in the room, but also those who are following us online. As regards the chairs, it's Thomas and myself. We introduced ourselves when we started, and he is in charge of the remote control. Our task is fully voluntary. We are elected by the community. The PDP manual also describes how the candidates are nominated for the position of chairs. Our tasks are for a 2-year period. Thomas is beginning his third period as a chair now and finishes in 2027. I started in 2024 and I will conclude in March 2026, in May 2026. One of the roles we have is to check the consensus of the community on the proposals submitted. We read and follow up the discussion process in the mailing list. Thomas, you can take over now. The Public Policy Forum. Sergio already said that the community is the one that makes the proposal, so we invite all of you to express your opinions. You needn't be LACNIC members, you needn't be members of another RIR. These proposals and the proposals that define the policies are of all of us. It's of the entire community. So we invite you to do so. You don't need to be a major corporation. You can be an end user that is interested in the internet. So you don't even need to have resources if you wish to present a policy. The process is what we describe as a bottom-up process. LACNIC doesn't dictate its policies, but it is we as a community who do so. The policy development process is as follows. There is an idea, you fill in a form, there is an initial discussion that lasts 8 weeks. The moderators, the chairs then determine the consensus. We're going to have a slide dedicated to the consensus. If consensus is not reached, in other words, if consensus is achieved, there's a session for period for last comments. And if second consensus is reached, this is ratified by the board of LACNIC, followed by the implementation. If there is no consensus, if this is not ratified by the board, the proposal goes back to the beginning and the cycle begins once again. The first consensus, the second consensus, ratification and implementation. Implementation is LACNIC determines whether it can be implemented right away if it's something simple, and normally a mail is circulated stating that it will take a given period of time depending on the type of proposal. What is consensus then? This is the definition of consensus over here, which you can read. But what we wish to say is that consensus is not the consensus between the two of us. We have to listen to your voices and then determine whether you agree on the proposal, if you think that the consensus can be forwarded to the level of a policy. And we often say, well, I don't like this proposal, I do like this proposal, but that is not the basis of defining consensus. We need to listen to your voices. You cannot determine the consensus before we can listen to you. This can be done through the microphones here in the room. Each policy proposer will make a presentation and then we'll open the floor for you to make comment. And it's not that there might not be a proposal. Say, well, I like the proposal, let us vote, and we vote for the majority. The example I was giving in the workshop we had on Monday was, let us not give more resources to El Salvador, for example, and then we all vote. You get all the people from the different countries, millions of people, they all vote, and El Salvador it has no resources. So if only one person from El Salvador, from wherever, and says, I think that proposal is unfair, then that proposal does not reach consensus. Just to give you an idea of what consensus is. So if one person says that that proposal is not valid for this or that reason, then that proposal is considered not to have reached consensus, and that has to be irrefutable. The example I give you is quite obvious, of course. Nobody is going to say that they don't want Salvador not to have any resources. So what happened since the latest forum? That was in Sao Paulo, LACNIC 43. What happened since that forum? LAC 2025-1 version 1, distribution of resources to physical persons, did not reach consensus. And LAC 2023-7 version 4, temporary transfers, did not reach consensus. This is how we number the policy proposal 25-1 is because the first proposal made in 2025 and 2023-7 is because it was 7 proposals, and these are the different versions, V1, V4, the different versions of the proposals over time. During this forum, each author will have 10 minutes to make their presentation. LACNIC will present the impact analysis, how this proposal has an impact on the organization. They have 5 minutes for this. The impact analysis is optional. You'll see that proposals have no impact analysis. Following that, we open the microphone for questions to the author of the proposal. And it's very important to when you ask questions or make comments, to clarify whether you support the proposals or not, or if you have any doubts. If this has been clarified, you can then say that you support the proposal or not. So that is very important. And once you come up to the microphone, please mention your name, because this is being recorded, and we with Sergio can then look at the videos to analyze the consensus.
After the discussion, we'll gauge room temperature, and we don't want any misunderstandings here. We will ask you to raise your hand, but at the same time I said we do not vote. We just want to gauge agreement, if people agree or do not agree with the proposal. We'll be able to modify the duration of the stages based on how the forum unfolds. Next, presenters will speak in their native language, and they will try to do so not extremely slowly, but at a good pace, because we have simultaneous interpretation. So if the presenter speaks Spanish, which is the case today, the interpreters will be translating into English and Portuguese. You should have some devices available. I don't remember what they're called. And please make sure to take them back at the end of the session. Otherwise, we'll come after you. And again, questions, please keep them to 2 minutes. And let's avoid elaborating and going back and forth. If I ask a question, the author will answer for 2 minutes, but let's allow everyone to participate. We need to hear from everyone who has an opinion, so do not monopolize the mic. If there's anybody who'd like to comment again, we'll wait for everyone to comment first, and then any repeats will come afterwards for further comments or questions. So we started a little late. Well, we are in the first chair presentation, and we will begin the chat with LAC 2025-2 for half an hour between presentation and questions. After that, we will look at LAC 2025-1, 10:30, LAC 2023-7. We're going to have a coffee break at 11. And please, let's get back into the room 11:30 sharp. I want to just stress that this is a very serious process that impacts us all. So please, let's make sure to be back on time at 11:30. At 11:30, we'll hear the ASO and RO report. 11:45, LAC 2024 2025-4, 12:15 LAC 2025-5, and by 12:45 we should have an open mic session. In open mic session, we encourage everyone to comment on these proposals or further suggestions for future proposals or suggestions that you have for us chairs or just general insights. So that is the agenda for the day. And without further ado, we will begin with our presentations. Okay, so we'll start with LAC 2025-2, version 1, the definition of organization. Jordi